So, Jay, first of all, do you want to give us a little introduction, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Connect?
Sure. So as you say, I'm the level 6 tutor, but I also teach the other levels as well. I've taught all the levels for Connect at different times. I love being a tutor. It really makes me a better counsellor, which of course is where I spend most of my time, like a lot of the tutors do, working with our clients. I've been a counsellor for about 10 years and a supervisor for about 5. I have to say at the moment of the two, I prefer the supervision. It's, it's really enjoyable activity. So I kind of bring that, the joys of supervision, I hope, to the teaching of the course. There's a lot in common with teaching and supervision. There's a nice overlap. So teaching it, I find, is really developmental for me as well as for the students I'm working with. I have another role within Connect, which is supporting the other tutors within the organisation, mainly around the level 4 groups, which can get quite in-depth and complicated, and it's good that we have that internal support structure for them. I think the beautiful thing about everyone's journey, as the phrase counsellors might use, is there's a lot of reasons you might want to come on a supervision course. I guess there's kind of the practical elements, which is it's another role you can take on. Lots and lots of counsellors have kind of multiple roles, like I have my management role, my teaching role, my counselling role, and my supervision role, because they're all very difficult to do full time for various reasons. So it really adds another option for people in terms of their professional work. Supervision relationships tend to be more long-term stable than counselling relationships. You can work with somebody for years and years and years as a supervisor. So it's a different kind of work on a practical level. I guess other people, as well as the professional reasons, there can also be personal reasons. It can be that sense of wanting to stretch, of wanting to grow, of wanting to become something more. My experience of working with people on these courses is that, as well as learning to be supervisors, they usually say they come out of it as better counsellors as well, and because of that growth and development that takes place during the course. And so learning those skills can be really, really powerful for people. They're all very unique. The beautiful thing about a level, this is true for all counselling courses, but particularly for a level 6 group, it's very much a co-created space. This isn't something where as a tutor I'm defining that, I'm telling people how things should be. That atmosphere emerges from what happens when you get a group of counselling professionals together and we have lovely in-depth conversations about counselling, about supervision. So if I was looking for common themes, the word that first comes to mind is collegiate. It's that sense of we're all professionals here having a really professional discussion around our profession that we're passionate about, work that we all care about. That's kind of the common thread, I would say. But
Yeah.
the atmosphere can be quite different if you've got a group of 6 people having that conversation, if you've got 16. And on our supervision courses, it could be either. It's a CPCAB course, so it will probably feel familiar in terms of the practical layouts. To anyone who's on a CPCAB course, it's going to look what you might imagine. They're experiential by nature, so they're not centered around like a university course where you're going to be sitting listening to a lecture. There's usually an element of that, of the teaching. It's a part of the day. It's not the main focus. The main focus will be around exploring the topic, reflecting on the topic, understanding each person's individual relationship to the topic or the model or the theory that we're covering that day. So we'll be looking at, what does this theory tell us? What does it mean to me in my practice? How would I take that into supervision? What would I do? How would I do that? What would that look like actually on a practical level? So the days can look quite varied, but they're usually focused around building our in-depth connection to the topic at hand. Because we're talking about experienced, qualified professionals coming into a training course, they're going to be bringing with them a wealth of experience and skills. And the course will say, great, now what would that mean in supervision? You know what it means in counselling and therapeutic work, but it's not the same in supervision. It's different, but it's similar. Where's the overlap? Where's the line? And that's really the kind of the awareness that people are going to gain. I think the biggest challenge in awareness that people come across is they've probably spent a long time developing their skills and their practice before they arrive on a supervision course. And now I'm going to say to them, and how are you going to work when you're supervising someone who does counselling really different to the way you do it? Someone who has a different set of beliefs, a different approach, a different theory or foundation or assumptions that goes into their work. Can you supervise that person? And I think that awareness of the kind of assumptions that we build into our practice without even realizing as counsellors, they're going to get challenged during the course. Yes, it will vary from person to person, but my personal opinion, yeah, absolutely. That is the biggest challenge, because you're going to come into an environment feeling those skills, feeling that experience, hopefully a bit of confidence, and then maybe even feel like you've had the rug whipped out from under your feet because you're at the beginning of something. You're learning fresh from the start of being a supervisor. And that contrast between that sense of being experienced and skilled and being new at something, that can be quite a challenge to get your head around. And that's a big part of it, is hopefully that opens you up to new perspectives on counselling. Very experiential is my answer. As I was saying, it's about not just giving you information, but actually building an understanding and an application in reality of what that means. So our approach is as much about awareness and reflection as it is about knowledge. We're hoping to make it individual. We're hoping to make it very much founded in the principles and values of the counselling profession. So we would approach teaching with a belief in the value of inclusivity or of openness, curiosity, all those values that make counselling work. We can bring that into the teaching room as our intention. Like counselling, I really want that to be individual.
Mm-hmm.
The values that I'm talking about really allow for that to happen. If I'm doing my job right, everyone's going to have a different answer to that question. Everyone's going to be filling in the gap of what they needed to get from the course to make this feel like it was worthwhile for them personally, not that we were trying to carve them into a particular kind of supervisor, that we've allowed them to discover what that means for them to be a supervisor. The biggest benefit of being a supervisor is it really widens your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It widens your perspective on what counselling is, what counselling means. And I think it's really, you'll often hear the word humbling from counsellors in terms of the things that our clients share with us. And I think the same is true of being a supervisor, but in a different way. It reminds you that there isn't one way of doing this. It reminds you that there's so many different people out there with different needs who need different kinds of therapy. And I can learn from the people that I supervise how and the different ways there are to do this. And that makes me a much better therapist as a result.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That is pretty much all the questions I have for you. Do you have anything else you want to add about the level 6 course at all that you would like to mention?
I think what I would say about the level 6 course, the thing that maybe people might not realize is it's academically one of the easier courses in many ways. There are less academic requirements than the other CPCAB courses because there is this assumption you're coming in with qualities and skills. But in terms of personal growth and development, it's one of the most engaging and fun, I find, because you're in a room of qualified counsellors, a lot of people who are embodying the values, principles and attitudes of the profession. And that creates a really rich environment for that personal growth and process. So that's one of the reasons why I personally love teaching level 6, and students have fed back many times that that was something they really appreciated about the course.